The first episode of Season 2 of The Fallout Show is out. Unlike with Season 1, which they dropped all at once, Amazon is releasing Season 2 episode by episode. This first episode is called The Innovator. I'm gonna go over everything that I noticed and make as many connections as I can. When the trailer for Season 2 was released, we realized that they had a completely new actor playing Robert House, Justin Theroux. In Season 1, House was played by Raffi Silver. He shows up in the last episode, and we see him in the round table. However, in this first episode for Season 2, we find House depicted by both actors, Raffi Silver and Justin Theroux. And it's not like they were just reusing footage from Season 1. No, Raffi Silver shows up in new footage, new scenes, shot just for Season 2. And so does Justin Theroux. Why would they cast two different actors to play one person? Well, they wouldn't. It's then that I remembered that Robert House has a brother, Anthony House. We learned the story of Anthony House while exploring the H&H tool factory during the events of Fallout New Vegas. I covered his entire story in my video on the H&H tool factory that I published many years ago. But in short, Robert and Anthony House's father, House Sr., was responsible for founding the H&H tool company. Anthony House was the elder brother, and he considered himself to be the only legitimate House, because his younger brother, Robert House, was his half-brother. Anthony House was not a stable man. He was constantly paranoid and believed all sorts of conspiracy theories. When his father died in 2022, Anthony House seized control of the H&H Tool Company and used his lawyers to push his younger half-brother, Robert House, out of the family business. He essentially disinherited Robert House. With Anthony House now in charge of the H&H Tool Company, it did all right. But Anthony's behavior was really weird. We learned from the terminal entries at the H&H tool factory that he would wear a strange special hat while wandering the factory, and he refused to make eye contact with anyone because he thought people could steal his thought energy by looking at him for too long. Despite everything that Anthony did to Robert, Robert was still incredibly successful because he was a brilliant scientist. Robert House founded Robco Industries and went on to invent a range of new robots, terminals, the Pip-Boy, and so on. While the H&H Tool Company did well, Robert House outshined his brother Anthony in every measurable way. Due to his younger brother's success, Anthony was convinced that his brother was going to try a hostile takeover of the H&H Tool Factory. And we get the impression that that's exactly what happened. Robco started buying a bunch of H&H Tool Company stock. And while the terminal entries inside the H&H Tool Factory don't give us a satisfactory conclusion to Anthony's story, we see H&H Tools engraved on House's Securitrons in New Vegas, giving us the impression that House became a majority stakeholder in the H&H Tool Company and possibly ousted his brother. The terminal entries in the H&H Tool Factory end by telling us that Anthony became convinced that Robert was going to come and physically remove him from his office, so we locked the entire factory down. We never find the remains of Anthony, or any remains that are positively identified as Anthony's within the H&H Tool Factory, so we don't really know what happened to him. But we do know that Anthony House had a Lucky 38 executive override on his terminal, which means that at any time, Anthony could have taken over House's Lucky 38. So, back to the Fallout show, we've got two Houses here. Which one is Robert, the owner of Robco, and which one is Anthony, the half-mad guy in charge of the H&H Tool Factory? Well, this is really hard to figure out. The House that is sitting at the round table at the end of Season 1 is simply a representative of Robco. And then, when this other House makes his appearance inside a bar, he starts talking a lot about the H&H Tool Company.
What trade are you in?
Construction.
So you must use the H&H nail gun. It's a marvelous machine. Why, I thought you'd be grateful.
In the show, this House has invented some sort of mind control chip, which is a technology that Robert House would likely have invented, not Anthony House. Robert House was the gifted inventor, not Anthony. And in both the trailer flashback sequences and the trailer post-war sequences, this is the house that's depicted. I don't think we have enough concrete information to know which house is which. However, I think that the best explanation for the two different actors used to depict one person, house, is that they're not depicting one house. They're depicting two houses. One is Robert House, one is Anthony House. And we don't exactly know what's going on yet. Did Robert House try to bring Anthony into the fold by giving him a job to do at Robco? Did Robert send Anthony to represent him at this round table? Or did Anthony find a way to find immortality himself and took over the Lucky 38 after House was killed during the events of Fallout New Vegas? The implications are astounding. We just have to wait to find out more. Or maybe I'm overcomplicating it. Maybe one of these houses is just a body double. House would certainly have a reason for having a body double. He clearly has every reason to not trust Vault-Tec. It's therefore perfectly possible that he sent a body double to the meeting at Vault-Tec headquarters. Maybe Anthony isn't involved at all. We'll just have to watch to find out. As we learned from the trailer, the Ghoul and Lucy have a firefight with great cons at Novak. And pre-war cars are just as explosive when shot with bullets as they are in the games. Gosh, it must have been a nightmare driving the streets before the apocalypse. And we learn from this exchange that it looks like Lucy hasn't quite learned her lesson yet. Even at this point in time, she's really leaning on her charisma first. She wants to talk people down.
You just let us go. And just to ask the question, would it help if I said please?
Whoever kills the girl gets to eat the dog.
Okie dokie.
Even though these cons have her friend in a noose and are dangling him over an empty swimming pool, she's still trying to talk them down. When diplomacy fails and a firefight breaks out, she deliberately makes non-lethal hits, going for limbs instead of just killing him. The Ghoul brings this up later.
I know you think you're being helpful, shooting folks in the kneecaps and the ass, but if I'm being honest, you ain't.
On one hand, it seems like she still has a lot to learn about the Wasteland, but she lets us know that this is actually intentional.
Well, I hate to break it to you, darling, but the way you was raised wasn't real.
I know that. You look at your alternative. Guess I'm just trying to lead by example.
She's trying to rise above the Wasteland by acting this way, which I think is a little naive, because there is no justice system in the Wasteland. The only justice is Wasteland justice. And perhaps she'll come to that conclusion herself in a bit. We get a wonderful scene of radiation actually healing the Ghoul. And this is lore-friendly. In the Fallout universe, not only are ghouls immune to radiation damage, radiation actually heals them. And the episode makes some wonderful allusions to the lore we already know from New Vegas. We find a pre-war scene where Cooper Howard meets with Ms. Williams to talk about what he learned at the Round Table. She tells him that she has learned that Robert House is building a missile system in Las Vegas.
Are you familiar with Robert House?
The guy owns half of Las Vegas.
He's also building a privately owned missile system in Las Vegas with enough firepower to follow through on your wife's proposals.
She is concerned, after what Cooper heard at the meeting, that House is going to use those missiles against America. And she asks Cooper to investigate it. But of course, we already know that that's not why House built his missile system. It was a missile defense system to defend New Vegas from nuclear bombs, which is something the Ghoul alludes to much later.
Still looks like all the old photos.
Bombs got shot down. Most of them, anyway.
If they could do that for Las Vegas, why couldn't they just do that for America?
Because there was no they. There was a him. A man by the name of Robert House.
So the Ghoul knows what House really tried to do, but Cooper Howard, in his pre-war scenes, doesn't yet. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Yes, they played Big Iron. Of course they did.
Big iron on his head.
There's a Sanctuary reference. It's just a visual reference, but in a pre-war scene where Cooper is still trying to figure out what he wants to do after learning what he learned at the Round Table, we see him traveling through a suburban neighborhood that looks a lot like Sanctuary. And of course, we get more information about Vault 33. The Vault's story focus is going to be on the water chip. Last season, we learned that it was broken when the raiders attacked the vault. Fixing it is now their primary concern, and I love the attention to detail here. They show off the water chip, and it looks just like the water chip that we see in Fallouts 1 and 2. Just excellent attention to detail. We learn that Bud Askins has communicated with the new overseers of Vault 33 and 32 because both Betty and Stephanie know that Norm is imprisoned there.
Have you seen Norm?
Norm has been sent for a leadership exchange program to Vault 31.
Oh, how are you with computers?
That was Norm's department. Maybe you can ask him in the terminal.
Great idea. I'll just send the other vault a message.
And now I feel really bad because in my video about the trailer for season 2, I said that Norm looks really good. He must have been working out. But we find out in this episode that he actually lost a ton of weight because he's starving. He has eaten through all of the provisions that he has found in Vault 31, and now he's starving to death. We learn something very important about Hank's motivation. We discover that Vault 33, 32, and 31's Reclamation Day wasn't some arbitrary date on a calendar. No, their Reclamation Day was when there was nobody left on the surface.
We'll all head up for Reclamation Day.
And when is that exactly?
When there's no one left on the surface to disagree with us.
Which explains why Hank destroyed Shady Sands. He discovered other people on the surface, and with them there, he can't open the doors to his vault. The only way he can open the doors to his vault and reclaim the wasteland is if there's no one left alive, and that's why he destroyed Shady Sands. Bud Askins is revealing here that he knows that his presumption about the end of the world was wrong. He thought there would be no one left alive on the surface. But he was wrong, which is why he's not allowing his vaults to open their doors. He has to sterilize the surface first. We discover a new vault, Vault 24. Vault 24 was originally intended to be in Fallout New Vegas, but it was cut from the game. In the Fallout show, we learn that the experiment of Vault 24 was to use some of the chips designed by House to control and brainwash people. Lucy and the Ghoul find the bodies of people who were being indoctrinated with communist propaganda. I don't know if we'll revisit Vault 24 later on in this series, but I feel like there's more to the story here. Cooper Howard is very familiar with Vault-Tec vaults because, as we learn in this episode, he's been searching every vault he stumbles upon looking for his family.
You've been to a lot of vaults.
Every time I step foot in one of these concrete shoeboxes, I gotta make peace with the fact that I might finally learn what happened to my wife and my daughter.
They tackle the problem of inbreeding in the Vault 31, 32, and 33 vaults. They didn't talk about it much in Season 1, and when they did, we were given the impression that inbreeding was something that they actively tried to avoid.
Messing around with your cousin, it's all well and good for kids, but it's not a sustainable long-term sexual practice, you know?
But in this episode, we find out that though it is banned, it was still fairly common.
And it's not your fault that your parents were or are related.
And it's not my fault.
My parents were or are related. No inbreeding in the vault. We're going to change that, right?
No, the rules are good. But that doesn't mean those of us who are products of inbreeding need to feel bad.
Hank, however, has utter disdain for anyone living on the surface, which makes sense given what we now know about him. Everyone on the surface has to die. The Ghoul and Lucy follow a trail of human bodies while tracking Hank. This trail leads them to Vault 24, and there they find a man that Hank kidnapped for the sole purpose of leaving Lucy a message. When she was a child, Hank used to call her his little sugar bomb, and using the brainwashing chip, he brainwashes this man into telling her to stop searching for him and to go back to Vault 33.
I fix everything. Go home, sugar bomb. Go home!
Of course, she doesn't, because he's hurting people and she has to stop that, but it tells us that Hank hasn't given up on his daughter yet. He makes it to New Vegas and he finds some sort of central Vault-Tec facility. We don't know what this is, but it appears to be like a hub of Vault-Tec activity, at least in the Los Angeles area, possibly regionally or even nationally. At this facility, Hank learns that Vault-Tec had been working on the brain control chip that we saw House use earlier in the episode. They had managed to get it smaller and smaller and smaller until it was virtually undetectable. Here Hank gets cleaned up. He even dons a gold-tinted Pip-Boy. I don't think it's the Pimp-Boy 3 billion. It doesn't appear to be bejeweled. Just gold. But the most interesting thing about this scene is he sends out a message to somebody, and in this message we learn more about his motivations. He says that he's reporting for duty, but we don't get the impression that he's reporting to Vault-Tec. He describes Vault-Tec as a sort of third party. He mentions that he's snuck into this place and he found it abandoned, which is a weird thing to say if you're trying to communicate to somebody who still runs Vault-Tec.
This is Hank McLean, reporting for duty, sir. Nobody in Vault-Tec knows I'm here.
He doesn't name the person that he's talking to. At one point, he describes the person he's leaving the message to as someone who likes calculating.
You spent so much time calculating how to survive all possible contingencies.
Which made me think of the calculator from Fallout Tactics, but the calculator was just an advanced computer. That didn't make any sense. And then Hank mentions that he's in the ruins of Las Vegas, which used to be the old stomping grounds of whomever he's sending this message to.
I'm in Vegas these days, back in your old stomping grounds, actually.
This leads us to believe that he might be sending the message to House. He talks about the mind control chip as his Vault experiment.
Trying to pick up where you all left off. Looks like a couple of the Vault experiments ran into some speed bumps, but I'm confident that if I just roll up my sleeves, I can bring it all home for you.
Could this be what Robert House used one of Vault-Tec's vaults for?
We have over 100 vaults, enough for each of you to claim several. Whatever you want to do, no one needs to know.
Hank promises that he'll finish this experiment, and when he does, whoever he's talking to will be so indebted to him that they'll give Hank the world.
I'm going to complete the work you started. And when this is all over, you will be begging me to help you. Then we can finally talk about my promotion.
This scene clearly wants us to believe that Hank is talking to Mr. House, but I don't know. Something is telling me that might be a red herring. I wonder who Hank is really talking to. The bombshell, though, is that Hank was working for someone else besides Vault-Tec, presumably House. Or if the House thing is a red herring, could it be the Enclave? As the episode pans out, we get a wonderful shot of Prim. We see the Bison Steve, the Mojave Express, and a ruined NCR flag. Well, this tells us a little bit about Prim. During the events of New Vegas, the courier can do a quest called My Kind of Town, where he has to find a new sheriff for the town of Prim. There are 4 different choices, one of which is Sergeant McGee of the NCR.
Sergeant McGee will take over as sheriff and the Rangers will be his deputies. This town will be in NCR territory.
If we convince the NCR to look after Prim, they annex the town, they reallocate some soldiers to defend it, and Sergeant McGee becomes the new sheriff. Well, from this pan-out sequence, I at least get the impression that that was what the courier chose, if we find NCR flags hanging from the town of Prim. But we don't see any people in Prim. We don't see Prim Slim in Prim. We don't see anyone going to the casino. Something must have happened to the NCR in Prim, and as a consequence, to the people who lived here. Finally, at the end of the episode, when they give us some snippets of what to look forward to, we learn conclusively that not only is there a civil war going on with the Brotherhood, but it's a civil war between Quintus's chapter and the Commonwealth.
I understand we're discussing a civil war.
The Commonwealth are going to kill us all.
Unless I can stop it.
That's right, Arthur Maxon's Brotherhood. Lots of questions. Is Arthur Maxon still in charge of the Commonwealth Brotherhood? Whose side does Maximus fight on? And as an aside, I noticed that in a pre-war flashback, we do see an airship, and it looks identical to the Pridwin, to the airships flown by the Brotherhood of Steel, which takes away a little bit from the uniqueness of the Pridwin having been built from the scrap of the mobile base crawler, but it does help explain why so many Zeppelins being used by the Brotherhood all look the same. They were just pre-war models built on an assembly line. That's everything I noticed, but I want to know what you noticed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I'm constantly publishing new Fallout videos, so if you don't want to miss my next one, be sure to subscribe. My 2026 thumbnail calendar is here. It's chock full of some of the best thumbnail art that I commissioned for 2025. The calendar has big, beautifully printed pages and plenty of white space for writing notes. So if you don't have a calendar for 2026 yet, snag mine today. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon with more Fallout videos.
I stood there, wondering, fearing.